Well, the mass shootings in Buffalo, New York, and Uvalde, Texas as well have become catalysts for change on Capitol Hill. The Senate passed the most consequential gun reform legislation in 30 years, all as the U.S. Supreme Court makes a decision that expands the country's gun rights. Maryland U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen joining us now to talk a little bit about them both. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Jason. Good to be with you.
Let's talk a little bit about the Supreme Court's decision, the gun decision now. Are Americans safer now because of it?
Well, Jason, on Thursday, we took a small but important step forward in our country when it comes to gun safety, but we also took a step back. The step back was the Supreme Court decision, which will affect Maryland's law, among others, and make it easier for people to carry concealed weapons, which will make our communities more dangerous and will result in more deaths. On the good news side, in the United States Senate, we had a vote of 65 senators, a bipartisan group, passing tighter gun safety laws around the country. A small step, but as I said, an important one. And especially for Maryland, it tightens the penalties, the federal penalties for gun trafficking. And since more than half of the guns used to commit crimes in Maryland come from other states, that's an important deterrent that should help Marylanders.
I'll take you back to that Supreme Court decision, and a lot of folks are talking, the folks who agree with this decision say this is a win for self-defense. And I'm wondering if you've heard the same.
Well, what this is going to mean more guns, concealed weapons, in places throughout the state of Maryland, potentially. I know our Attorney General Frosch, will be taking a look at it along with others to see what changes we may need to make in Maryland law. But the reality is that we have too many guns on the street, and that is why you see the daily toll of gun violence in Maryland and around the country. The Second Amendment is subject to reasonable regulation. The Supreme Courts have found that in the past, and my view is that the Maryland law was a reasonable regulation with respect to gun safety that was consistent with the Second Amendment. So I disagree with the Supreme Court's decision. It will make us less safe.
Sir, I do have to insert something a little off topic here because we're taping this on Friday and I'm watching a headline from NBC News right now saying that Supreme Court's overturning Roe versus Wade. I don't know if this news has made it to you yet, and I'm wondering if you have a reaction to that before we go.
Well, this must be breaking news as we speak here.
It is.
The Supreme Court decision is the same as the leaked opinion. This is a very bad day for America. It will take away a woman's right to reproductive freedom and reproductive choice. This is a big reversal of a constitutional right, and we need to fight it every step of the way. One of the measures we're trying to take in the Senate is to pass a national law that codifies the rights of Roe v. Wade, so women will still be protected and still have that opportunity to determine their own destiny.
Yeah, and that's part of my curiosity because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are some states that if a day like today, again, this is Friday, it would trigger laws within those states to allow things to continue, abortion rights there. Am I understanding that correctly?
You're exactly right. There are over 20 states around the country that have laws in place that would take away women's right to reproductive choice, even in cases of rape and incest in some of those states. It would just ban access to abortion and prevent women from making these really tough decisions on their own in consultation with their doctors and others. And I should say, Jason, that this is just step one of a two-step plan.
Okay.
The next part of the effort was if some of these ideologues get control of the Congress, they would pass a national law that would ban the right to reproductive choice, which would overturn and overcome Maryland's law.
Wow. Because
in Maryland, we protect the right to reproductive choice for women. But if you pass a national law taking away that right, it would strip away those rights in Maryland as well, just as the Supreme Court decision on guns is overriding Maryland gun safety laws.
I'll take you back. We have about a minute and a half left. I do want to talk a little bit about the January 6th committee and I guess the expectation. As this rolls on, what do you hope that Americans are going to take away from this? Because as we said before, we spoke before, and some people are in one camp and the other, and there's no real middle in this. So what do we hope that Americans glean once this is all said and done with?
Well, there is the truth and the untruth, right? There are facts and then there's make believe. And I think what the American people are seeing here is a very professional hearing, set of hearings that is bringing the American people the truth. And the testimony that they're receiving are from people who worked for Donald Trump. All right. These are Republican members of the Trump administration who are blowing the whistle on the fact that Donald Trump tried to overturn the election, to undermine our democracy. That's a very serious issue for the country. And I don't care what party you belong to, Republicans, Democrats, or independents, all of us should stand up as Americans and say nobody, no matter who they are, should be able to overturn our elections and not be held accountable.
All right. Senator Van Hollen, thank you much for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.